Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to start by saying that I think rent stabilization is a really complex issue. And I have my own very real concerns about the unintended consequences that often come with policies like this, as we've seen in other cities. But to me, that's not what this bill is about or what our vote today is about. There was an election on rent stabilization in multiple jurisdictions, and supporters and opponents made their cases and voters cast their ballots. And this bill before us today retroactively overthrows the votes of the people in those communities. And for me, that's a really dangerous precedent to be offered here to say that when this body doesn't like the will of the people, we will simply undo it. It is unfortunately, not a unique occurrence, and we continue to see sort of the divisive and dangerous consequences that attacks on our democracy have. What I'm concerned about with this bill is that it's not a discussion about the policy of rent stabilization or housing or rental affordability. And we should be having that discussion. Voters told us in their jurisdictions that they want to have that discussion, that housing affordability is absolutely vital to them. But for me, this is a question of democracy in front of us today. And last week we heard from Mayor Carter and his community that they are taking seriously that vital nuance that has to be a part of these policies. And to Senator Rosen's point, I think he's taking into consideration some of the changes, some of the nuance that might be required in these policies. We should be having this conversation about what Senator Dietzig said. How do we make those absolutely necessary changes? How do we build that supply? How are we doing that? And that's not in front of us today. I hope we will be hearing Senator Dietzig's bill for rental subsidies that could help stabilize the rental market. We could be hearing a bill about how are we could spend some of our $9 billion surplus to really up the supply of housing in Minnesota. But today we're hearing a vote about democracy, and this is an attack on it. And I struggle myself sitting here as an elected official who was voted in by my community to turn over the votes of other communities. Thank you, Mr. Chair.